Ladies and gentlemen, when someone constantly manipulates your emotions, it's not just a red flag. It's a neon sign that they don't truly care about you. Emotional manipulation is one of the most damaging behaviors in any relationship because it's not only deceptive, but also incredibly hard to recognize when you're in the thick of it. It can feel like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to keep the peace, second-guessing every decision, and wondering whether you're doing enough or saying the right thing to avoid upsetting the other person. But here's the truth. Emotional manipulation is a sign that the other person is using you for their benefit, not caring about your well-being. This kind of manipulation often manifests in subtle ways. Maybe they guilt trip you into doing things you don't want to do, making you feel bad for not meeting their needs or expectations. They might play on your insecurities, suggesting that if you loved them, you would behave a certain way or sacrifice your own happiness for theirs. It's this constant back and forth game of power where you feel like you're always in the wrong, always responsible for their emotions, always the one who needs to change to make things work. But that's not what a healthy relationship looks like. In a healthy relationship, your emotions are respected. You don't feel like you have to give up your happiness, your comfort, or your beliefs just to keep the other person happy. In fact, when someone truly cares about you, they will help you grow into the best version of yourself while also growing themselves. They'll support you in your journey, they'll validate your feelings, and they'll help you feel safe to be vulnerable without using your emotions against you. But with emotional manipulators, the dynamics are entirely different. Instead of feeling supported, you feel confused, anxious, and trapped. You begin to question whether you're doing enough, whether you're good enough, whether you're making the right choices. And over time, this constant doubt can wear you down. It chips away at your self-esteem, your confidence, and your sense of worth. Manipulators also have a knack for playing the victim. They'll twist things so that no matter what happens, they're the ones who are hurt. They're the ones who are struggling. They're the ones who need your help and attention. They'll make you feel like you're responsible for fixing their problems or making them feel better, even when you're dealing with your own struggles. Instead of offering support and love, they place the weight of their emotions and issues on your shoulders, making you feel responsible for carrying them. And the worst part is, they'll never be truly satisfied. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you sacrifice, it will never be enough for them because the goal isn't to love you back. It's to keep you in a position where they can continue to manipulate you for their own needs. This behavior is toxic. It makes you question your own reality, your own perceptions, and your own worth. You start to feel like your needs don't matter. You might even start believing that it's your fault they treat you this way, telling yourself that if you were just a little bit better, a little bit more accommodating, a little bit more self-sacrificial, maybe they'd treat you the way you deserve. But the truth is, emotional manipulators will never treat you the way you deserve because their primary concern isn't your happiness. It's their control over you. So how do you know if you're in an emotionally manipulative relationship? It's when you start feeling drained, anxious, and uncertain. It's when you feel like your worth is tied to their approval, their attention, and their validation. You're constantly walking on eggshells, constantly worried about what they think or how they'll react. You're always second-guessing yourself, constantly apologizing, even when you haven't done anything wrong. The relationship doesn't bring out the best in you, it brings out the worst. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and fear, unable to see clearly or think straight. You might be afraid to confront them because you don't want to upset them or face their wrath. But here's the reality. When someone truly cares about you, they don't manipulate you. They don't play games with your emotions. They don't make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. Instead, they love you in a way that lifts you up, encourages you, and empowers you to be your true self. They listen to you, they respect you, and they never make you feel like you have to change or sacrifice your happiness just to make them feel good about themselves. If you're in a relationship where emotional manipulation is the norm, it's time to stop and take a hard look at what's happening. You are not responsible for their happiness or their emotional well-being. You are not their emotional punching bag, and you don't have to carry the weight of their issues on your shoulders. Your feelings matter, your happiness matters, and you deserve to be in a relationship where you are loved and respected for exactly who you are, not manipulated into being someone else. When someone consistently refuses to take accountability for their actions, it's one of the clearest signs that they don't genuinely care about you. Accountability is a cornerstone of any healthy relationship, whether it's with a friend, family member, or romantic partner. It's a mutual understanding that both parties are responsible for their words, actions, and impact on the other person. But when someone can never admit when they're wrong, when they're quick to blame you for everything that goes wrong, or when they never own up to their mistakes, it's not just frustrating, it's a red flag that they're not committed to growing with you, but rather using you as a scapegoat for their shortcomings. Refusing to take accountability is a sign of immaturity and a lack of emotional growth. It's a defense mechanism that allows them to avoid the discomfort of facing their flaws and making necessary changes. In relationships, this behavior can be toxic. It shifts the dynamic from two people working together toward a common goal to one person constantly bearing the weight of the other's irresponsibility. Imagine you're in a situation where every argument, every disagreement, and every conflict is made to feel like it's your fault. No matter how hard you try to explain your side or how much you express your feelings, it's never enough to make the other person acknowledge their role in the situation. Instead, they deflect, deny, and make you feel like you're the one who's in the wrong. Over time, this kind of behavior can make you question your own perceptions, your judgment, and your sense of reality. It can create a feeling of powerlessness where you're constantly walking on eggshells, afraid to speak up because you know it will just lead to more blame and defensiveness. In any relationship, we all make mistakes. We all have moments where we don't behave in the best way or we hurt someone unintentionally. What separates healthy relationships from unhealthy ones is the ability to take responsibility for those actions, apologize sincerely, and work toward making things right. Accountability is not about admitting you're always wrong, but about recognizing when your actions have affected someone else negatively and owning up to that. It shows maturity, empathy, and a genuine care for the other person's feelings. When someone refuses to take accountability, it becomes clear that they're not concerned with how their behavior affects you. They're only concerned with protecting their own ego and avoiding discomfort. The absence of accountability can also erode trust in the relationship. Trust is built on the foundation of honesty, reliability, and responsibility. When someone can't be trusted to take responsibility for their actions, it creates a toxic environment of doubt and uncertainty. You begin to feel like you can't rely on them to be truthful with you or to have your back when things go wrong. They're always going to find a way to shift the blame onto you or someone else, and you'll end up feeling like you're the one who has to do all the emotional labor in the relationship. This behavior often manifests itself in subtle ways like deflecting blame during an argument, making excuses for their actions, or even shifting the conversation so that the focus is on your faults instead of theirs. It might seem like small things at first, but over time, these patterns become ingrained in the relationship, and you find yourself constantly apologizing for things you didn't do, trying to fix problems that were never yours to begin with, and feeling like you're the only one making an effort to make things better. It can leave you emotionally drained and frustrated with no space to voice your own concerns or needs because you're always in the position of trying to appease the other person. Accountability in a relationship also goes hand in hand with empathy. When someone truly cares about you, they understand how their actions affect you. They don't deflect blame, they listen to your perspective, validate your feelings, and take responsibility for their actions. They understand that being accountable is not just about saying, "I'm sorry." but about making a conscious effort to change their behavior and ensure that the same issues don't keep arising. If someone refuses to take accountability, they're not only disrespecting you, but they're also refusing to show empathy. They're ignoring the fact that their actions impact you, and they're unwilling to do the necessary work to make things better. In relationships where accountability is absent, you'll likely find yourself doing all the emotional labor. You'll be the one making amends, the one constantly adjusting, and the one putting in all the effort to keep things together. This creates an imbalance where you're the only one taking responsibility and the other person continues to avoid the work of self-reflection and growth. It's not fair to carry the weight of the relationship on your own, and it's certainly not healthy for either person involved. If you're in a relationship where accountability is consistently lacking, it's important to recognize that it's not your responsibility to fix the other person. You can't force someone to take responsibility for their actions, and you can't carry the burden of their emotional immaturity. In a healthy, caring relationship, both individuals acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, and work together to move forward. If someone can't do that, it's a sign that they're not as invested in the relationship as you are. Accountability is the foundation of respect, trust, and growth, and without it, there can be no true partnership in any relationship. Consistent communication is key to building trust, understanding, and emotional connection. When someone is constantly inconsistent in how they communicate with you, it sends a clear message. You are not a priority to them. Communication isn't just about talking, it's about showing up in a way that is reliable, honest, and considerate. When someone is hot and cold, when they only reach out when it's convenient for them, or when they ghost you without explanation, it leaves you feeling unsettled and unimportant. It's exhausting and ultimately disrespectful. Inconsistent communication often leaves you in a state of confusion. You don't know where you stand with them. One minute, they're attentive, engaged, and present in your life, and the next, they're distant, unavailable, or completely silent. This erratic behavior makes it difficult to trust that the relationship is stable or that they have a genuine interest in your well-being. You find yourself second-guessing everything, their words, their actions, their intentions, because nothing seems consistent enough to form a clear picture of where you fit in their life. In some cases, they might even give excuses for their silence or lack of communication, offering vague explanations like, "I've been busy," or "I needed space," without any real follow-up. It becomes frustrating because these explanations don't address the heart of the issue. If someone truly cared about you, they would make an effort to communicate regularly, even during times of stress or busyness. Everyone has moments where they need to take a step back, but the key is that a caring person will let you know that they're still thinking about you, still interested in your life, and still committed to the relationship. Inconsistent communication also creates a cycle of uncertainty. When someone goes silent or only reaches out when it benefits them, you begin to feel like you're chasing after their attention. You start to wonder whether you're being too demanding or needy for wanting more consistent engagement. You might even find yourself making excuses for them, justifying their behavior by telling yourself that they're just going through a rough time or that they're not as good at expressing themselves. However, this cycle can wear you down because deep down, you know that the effort in the relationship is not being equally shared. It's exhausting to constantly wonder where you stand and to constantly seek validation in the form of a text, call, or acknowledgement that may never come. It's also important to recognize that inconsistent communication doesn't just hurt your emotional well-being. It undermines the sense of safety and security that should be present in any relationship. Without consistent and open communication, there's a constant sense of instability. You don't know if they're truly invested in you or if they'll pull away again when things get difficult. Relationships require trust to thrive, And without clear and honest communication, trust can easily erode. This lack of reliability can make you feel like you're walking on eggshells, never knowing what to expect. You may begin to doubt your own judgment and feel as though you can't rely on the other person to be there when you need them most. This is not only frustrating, but it's emotionally draining as well. True connection is built on the foundation of open, consistent, and transparent communication. It's about knowing that when you reach out to someone, they will respond with respect, consideration, and honesty. It's about knowing that you don't have to constantly wonder where you stand because there's a steady flow of understanding and mutual care between you. When communication becomes inconsistent, it creates a wall between you and the other person, and over time, that wall can become harder and harder to break down. Instead of feeling like an equal partner in the relationship, you begin to feel like you're just waiting for scraps of attention or affection when they're available. If you're in a situation where communication is constantly erratic, it's crucial to address it openly. The longer you let the inconsistency slide, the more entrenched the pattern becomes. It's important to communicate your needs and express how this behavior is affecting you. A relationship can't thrive on uncertainty and confusion, and if they truly care about you, they'll make an effort to improve the communication dynamic. They should be willing to have honest conversations about their behavior and understand that it's not about demanding attention, it's about creating a space where both people feel valued, heard, and respected. Unfortunately, if someone refuses to acknowledge how their inconsistency is impacting the relationship or simply isn't willing to put in the effort to communicate in a meaningful way, it's a clear sign that they may not be as invested in you as you are in them. Healthy relationships require ongoing effort, vulnerability, and mutual commitment. If you find that you're the only one making the effort to keep the lines of communication open, it may be time to reconsider if this relationship is giving you what you need to feel emotionally supported and valued. Ultimately, we all deserve relationships where communication is consistent, where we feel heard, and where our presence is valued. If someone consistently fails to show up in this way, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their lack of investment in the relationship. You deserve more than someone who treats you like an option, someone who only communicates when it's convenient for them. You deserve someone who will show up for you even in the busiest or most difficult of times, because they understand that communication is the foundation of a strong, healthy relationship. In any healthy relationship, the foundation is built on mutual care and respect. And a critical part of that is being genuinely interested in the other person's life. If someone is consistently self-centered, constantly turning conversations toward their own needs, desires, and problems without ever taking the time to ask about yours or show any interest in your feelings, it's a clear indication that they don't care about you in the way they should. Relationships are meant to be a two-way street, where both people actively contribute to the growth and well-being of the other. When the relationship revolves around only one person's needs, it becomes imbalanced, and this imbalance often leads to emotional exhaustion for the other person involved. At the heart of self-centeredness is a lack of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, and it's essential in any meaningful relationship. When someone is only focused on their own thoughts and feelings, they are failing to recognize that your emotions, experiences, and perspectives matter just as much as theirs. It's not just about listening when you talk. It's about being genuinely present, offering support when needed, and being able to show that they care about your experiences. If they consistently dominate the conversation, ignore your needs, or make you feel like your concerns are less important, they're not showing the kind of respect and consideration that a healthy relationship requires. Self-centeredness can take many forms, but it often begins with an unwillingness to give space for the other person to share their feelings. You may find yourself in a conversation where you try to talk about something meaningful to you, only to have it quickly dismissed or overshadowed by their own experiences. Over time, you start to feel like your voice doesn't matter. You start to feel as though you're not being seen or heard for who you truly are, but rather just as an accessory to their life. You may even begin to question your own worth, wondering if your thoughts, feelings, and needs are insignificant. This can be incredibly damaging as it chips away at your self-esteem and sense of value. It's important to note that a self-centered person isn't necessarily malicious. In some cases, they may not even realize they are behaving this way. They might be so consumed with their own struggles or desires that they fail to recognize how their behavior is affecting those around them. But regardless of the intention, the impact is the same. You're left feeling emotionally depleted and unimportant. It creates a one-sided relationship where the other person takes and takes without offering anything in return. In relationships, mutual support is a vital part of building a strong, lasting connection. When both people are invested in each other's well-being, it creates a sense of partnership and collaboration. You're there for each other in both the good times and the bad, offering encouragement, empathy, and understanding. But if the relationship is built on a foundation of self-centeredness, that balance is lost. The caring dynamic turns into a situation where one person feels like they are constantly giving and giving without receiving anything in return. You may find yourself doing all the emotional labor, providing support and attention while the other person remains focused on their own needs. This creates an emotional imbalance where one person feels drained and the other remains indifferent to the emotional toll their behavior is causing. Self-centeredness in a relationship can also manifest in the form of entitlement. The other person may begin to expect things from you without ever offering anything in return. They might assume that you will always be there to listen to their problems or offer them comfort, but they don't extend the same courtesy to you. It's an expectation that your time, energy, and emotions are available for their use whenever they need it, without considering whether you have your own needs to address. This entitlement can make you feel like an afterthought, always giving without receiving, always sacrificing your own comfort for the sake of their needs. Over time, this imbalance can lead to resentment. You begin to feel like you are nothing more than a source of support for the other person rather than someone who is valued and cared for in their own right. The more you give without receiving, the more frustration builds up. You might start to feel taken for granted, like your efforts are never truly appreciated. This emotional drain can leave you feeling exhausted, isolated, and disillusioned with the relationship. The longer this pattern continues, the more difficult it becomes to see any way forward because the relationship no longer feels like a partnership, it feels like a one-sided arrangement. A healthy relationship requires both parties to be attentive, caring, and present for one another. It means showing interest in each other's lives, offering support during tough times, and celebrating successes together. If someone is only interested in their own experiences, their own desires, and their own emotions, without ever acknowledging or making space for yours, it's a sign that they don't truly value the connection between you. If you find yourself in a relationship where self-centeredness is the norm, it's essential to recognize that your needs are just as important as the other person's. You deserve to be heard, seen, and valued. You are not a background player in someone else's life. You are an equal partner who deserves the same level of care, attention, and respect. If the other person is unwilling or unable to make the relationship a two-way street, it may be time to reevaluate the dynamic. You deserve someone who genuinely cares about your needs, who takes the time to listen, and who is invested in making the relationship work for both of you. If they can't meet you halfway, then it's not a relationship worth holding on to. When someone is consistently disrespectful toward your boundaries, it shows that they do not value you in the way that a healthy relationship requires. Boundaries are essential in every relationship. They help to protect your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. and they provide the structure needed for both parties to feel safe and respected. Boundaries are not walls. They are limits that communicate to others how you wish to be treated. When someone disregards your boundaries, it's a sign that they either don't respect you or don't care enough to consider your needs. This kind of behavior can have a profound negative impact on your self-esteem, sense of security, and overall emotional health. Boundaries aren't just about saying no to things you don't want to do. They're about creating an environment where you can thrive, feel safe, and maintain your sense of self. They might be emotional boundaries, such as needing space when you're overwhelmed, or physical boundaries, such as wanting to be treated with respect when it comes to personal space or touch. They can also include intellectual boundaries, like expecting that your ideas and thoughts will be heard and respected. No matter the type, these boundaries reflect who you are and what you need in order to feel comfortable and cared for in any relationship. When someone repeatedly ignores or disrespects your boundaries, it indicates that they are more interested in their own needs or desires than in respecting yours. They may try to push you into situations that you've clearly communicated are not comfortable for you. Perhaps they pressure you to do things that go against your values or desires. Or maybe they continually invade your space without considering how it makes you feel. This kind of behavior creates a toxic atmosphere where your feelings and needs are disregarded in favor of theirs. Over time, this can erode your confidence and make you feel as though your desires and limits are unimportant. You begin to question whether you have the right to set boundaries in the first place. Disrespect for boundaries is a form of emotional manipulation. It's about controlling or coercing someone into doing things they don't want to do or being someone they're not comfortable being. When someone pushes past your boundaries, they are asking you to give up pieces of yourself for the sake of their comfort or desires. This can make you feel guilty for asserting your needs, or it can lead you to second-guess your feelings. You may even feel like you're being unreasonable for wanting to maintain your personal limits. This is a dangerous cycle because it places your emotional well-being in constant jeopardy. You start to lose touch with your own feelings and needs, constantly adjusting to please someone else until eventually you forget what it feels like to stand firm in your own beliefs. It's important to understand that healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, and that includes respecting each other's boundaries. When both parties in a relationship honor and care for the other's boundaries, it fosters an environment where both people can grow, feel loved, and feel heard. However, when one person repeatedly ignores the other's boundaries, it creates an unbalanced relationship that fosters resentment, fear, and frustration. You are not just left feeling disrespected, you are also deprived of the opportunity to maintain your own sense of integrity and individuality. A relationship where boundaries are continually violated can lead to a buildup of emotional tension. The person whose boundaries are being disregarded may begin to feel trapped. They may feel like they can't escape the pressure to constantly appease the other person or give in to their demands. Over time, this feeling of being emotionally suffocated can make them withdraw or feel isolated, even when they are physically present. In many cases, the person who is not respecting boundaries will act as though they are entitled to violate those boundaries. They might justify their behavior by saying things like, "I didn't mean to upset you," or "you're overreacting," minimizing the effect their actions are having on you and invalidating your feelings in the process. This type of dismissal can make you feel like your needs are not worth respecting and that you have no right to assert your own comfort or safety. This kind of behavior can also lead to a pattern of avoidance. When your boundaries are consistently violated, you may stop trying to express your needs altogether. You may give up on trying to protect yourself emotionally because you've come to expect that it won't be respected. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where one person controls the narrative and the other is left constantly adapting to avoid conflict. Not only does this make the relationship emotionally exhausting, but it also undermines any chance of genuine growth. Without respect for boundaries, there's no space for individual growth, and the relationship can become a cycle of repeated issues with no resolution. In some cases, the person violating your boundaries may claim they are simply being loving or caring by pushing you past your limits. They may argue that they know what's best for you or that they have your best interests at heart. But in reality, love is not about forcing someone to sacrifice their needs or values for the sake of the relationship. True care means listening to the other person, respecting their feelings, and creating space where both people can express themselves freely and without fear of judgment or disregard. If you find yourself in a situation where your boundaries are not being respected, it is crucial to take a step back and assess the relationship. No one has the right to violate your personal limits, and it's essential to stand firm in protecting your emotional and mental health. It's okay to communicate your boundaries clearly and assertively, and it's important to recognize when someone's refusal to respect them is a sign of deeper issues within the relationship. You deserve to be in a relationship where your needs and boundaries are honored, where mutual respect is the foundation, and where both people work together to create a supportive and safe environment. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, it may be time to reconsider whether this relationship is truly healthy or if it's time to move on and prioritize your own well-being. When someone repeatedly breaks promises, it signals a lack of commitment and respect for you in the relationship. Promises are not just words, they represent trust, accountability, and a sense of reliability. In a healthy relationship, promises are meant to be kept because they affirm that both parties value each other and are willing to take responsibility for their actions. However, when someone consistently fails to follow through on their commitments, it undermines the foundation of the relationship. It creates a pattern of broken trust that becomes harder to rebuild over time. Trust is a fragile thing. It's built through consistent actions and the reliability of one person showing up for another. Promises, whether small or large, play a significant role in this process. When someone promises to do something, it's an indication that they are offering their word and their time to fulfill that promise. For example, if a partner promises to attend an important event with you or assures you that they will handle something on their own, it's an expression of their care and dedication to the relationship. When those promises are repeatedly broken, it can leave you questioning whether they truly care about you or whether their words hold any weight. Repeatedly breaking promises is a form of emotional betrayal. Even if the promises themselves seem small or insignificant, it's easy to dismiss a broken promise as something that doesn't matter, especially if the other person offers excuses or justifications for their failure to follow through. They might say things like, "I forgot, I got busy," or "I didn't think it was a big deal." But the truth is that even the smallest broken promise erodes trust. Every time someone fails to keep their word, it sends a message that they don't take your needs or expectations seriously. It tells you that your time, your feelings, and your relationship don't matter enough for them to prioritize or follow through on their commitments. When promises are broken, it can create feelings of frustration and disappointment. Over time, this pattern of broken promises can leave you feeling disrespected and undervalued. You begin to wonder if the person you're involved with is even genuinely interested in making the relationship work or if they're simply going through the motions. The emotional toll can be significant, especially if you're the one who's left picking up the pieces every time a promise is broken. You may find yourself constantly forgiving their failures, convincing yourself that they'll do better next time, only to be disappointed again and again. This cycle of broken promises can leave you feeling emotionally drained, as you're constantly giving them the benefit of the doubt, even when your trust is repeatedly violated. One of the most damaging aspects of broken promises is that they can make you feel invisible. When someone repeatedly fails to follow through on their commitments, it can make you feel as though you don't matter enough to them. It's not about the specific task or promise itself. It's about the emotional message that's being sent. You start to feel as though your needs and your expectations are not worthy of their time or effort. This can chip away at your self-worth and make you doubt your importance in their life. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if you just wait long enough, or if you just forgive them one more time, things will eventually improve. But the reality is that broken promises are a reflection of the other person's inability to show up for you consistently. It's a clear sign that they don't prioritize the relationship or your needs. The more promises are broken, the more it becomes clear that this behavior is part of a larger pattern. A person who frequently breaks promises is not just unreliable, they may also be demonstrating a lack of accountability. It's easy for someone to offer empty promises, but it takes maturity, responsibility, and respect to follow through on them. When promises are broken, it's often accompanied by a lack of apology or acknowledgement of the harm caused. Instead of taking ownership of their actions, the person may try to deflect or shift the blame, offering excuses for why they didn't fulfill their commitment. This kind of behavior can make you feel even more alone in the relationship because it suggests that they aren't willing to take responsibility for the hurt they've caused. In some cases, broken promises can be a form of manipulation. Someone may promise things to keep you attached or to avoid conflict in the moment, but their actions never match their words. They may use promises as a way to placate you, knowing that you want to hear them say the right things, even if they have no intention of following through. This kind of manipulation is emotionally draining, as it leaves you constantly hopeful for something that never comes to fruition. Over time, it can create a sense of hopelessness and frustration as you begin to realize that no matter how many times they promise to change, nothing ever truly improves. To break this cycle, it's important to establish boundaries and hold the other person accountable for their actions. You have the right to expect honesty and follow through in any relationship, and it's essential to communicate when their behavior is no longer acceptable. If they continue to break promises without any real effort to change, it's important to recognize that this is a pattern of disrespect, and it may be time to reconsider whether this relationship is worth investing in. No one deserves to be in a relationship where their needs and feelings are repeatedly dismissed, where their trust is violated time and time again. Ultimately, promises are meant to build trust and strengthen relationships. They are a way of showing that both people care about each other and are willing to put in the effort to make things work. When promises are broken without accountability or effort to improve, it creates an atmosphere of disappointment and distrust. You deserve a relationship where you can rely on the other person to keep their word, where your needs are valued, and where the emotional investment is mutual. If promises are constantly being broken, it's a clear sign that the relationship may not be as healthy as it should be, and it's time to reassess what you deserve in a partnership. When someone consistently belittles or undermines your feelings, it's a clear sign that they do not truly care about you or your well-being. Emotional support and validation are essential aspects of any healthy relationship. Feeling heard, respected, and understood is a fundamental need that helps build trust, intimacy, and a sense of security. However, when someone belittles or dismisses your emotions, it can be incredibly damaging. It creates a dynamic where your thoughts and feelings are not taken seriously, and it fosters an environment of emotional neglect. This type of behavior can leave you feeling invalidated, unimportant, and emotionally exhausted. Belittling your feelings can take many forms. It might be a dismissive comment like, "You're overreacting," or "It's not that big of a deal." These remarks trivialize your emotions and make you feel like you have no right to feel upset, frustrated, or hurt. It can also manifest as sarcastic remarks or eye rolls whenever you express yourself. Over time, these actions can chip away at your self-esteem, leaving you feeling as though your emotions are not worthy of attention or care. This is particularly harmful because emotions are not inherently good or bad. They are signals that reflect our needs, desires, and experiences. When someone dismisses these feelings, they're invalidating a core part of your identity and experience. One of the most insidious aspects of belittling behavior is that it can often be subtle or passive-aggressive. The person may not overtly insult you, but their tone, body language, or constant downplaying of your feelings can send a clear message that they don't value you. They may claim they were just joking or that they didn't mean to hurt you, but the pattern of behavior continues. This constant invalidation can make you start doubting yourself. You may begin to question whether your feelings are exaggerated or if you are just being too sensitive. This self-doubt can lead to a loss of confidence in your own emotional responses, making it harder to trust your instincts and needs. When someone belittles your emotions, it can also prevent open communication in the relationship. You start to feel hesitant to share your feelings because you fear being ridiculed or dismissed. Over time, this emotional shutdown can lead to distance between you and the other person. If you're constantly holding back your emotions to avoid conflict or further invalidation, the relationship becomes one-sided, and the emotional connection weakens. You may feel increasingly isolated, as though you are unable to express your true self without fear of being judged or disregarded. Belittling behavior can also take a more manipulative form. For instance, when someone invalidates your feelings, they might then turn the situation around and make you feel guilty for expressing yourself in the first place. They might say things like, "I don't know why you're upset. I didn't do anything wrong." Or, "You're just looking for a reason to be angry." These tactics are often designed to deflect responsibility and shift the blame onto you. By making you feel guilty for feeling the way you do, they create a power dynamic where they are in control and you are left questioning your own emotions. This is a form of emotional manipulation, and it can be incredibly damaging over time. Another issue with belittling behavior is that it diminishes the value of your experiences. Every person's emotions are shaped by their unique life experiences, and when someone dismisses or belittles how you feel, they are essentially saying that your experiences don't matter. It's as if they're telling you that you're not allowed to have your own personal perspective, or that your reality is invalid. This kind of behavior can make you feel disconnected from your own self-worth, as if your thoughts and feelings are insignificant. It can also create a sense of alienation, where you feel like you're living in a world where no one truly understands or cares about your experience. The long-term effects of being belittled can be severe. If you are in a relationship where your feelings are consistently dismissed, you may begin to feel like you are emotionally invisible. You might internalize the belief that your emotions aren't important or that you are somehow flawed for feeling the way you do. This can lead to anxiety, depression, and a general sense of helplessness. Over time, you may even start to suppress your feelings altogether, pretending that everything is fine when it's not, because you no longer trust that others will care about what you're going through. It's also important to note that belittling your feelings can lead to a toxic dynamic in the relationship. The person who is belittling you may believe that they are right and that their perspective is the only one that matters. They may disregard your emotions because they feel superior or because they don't want to acknowledge your pain. This dynamic can make you feel small, unheard, and powerless. Over time, you may lose your sense of agency in the relationship, feeling as though you have no control over your own emotions or experiences. In a healthy relationship, both individuals should feel supported, heard, and valued. It's not about agreeing all the time or avoiding conflict, but it's about creating an environment where both parties can express themselves honestly without fear of being belittled or disregarded. If someone is constantly belittling or invalidating your feelings, it's a clear sign that they are not emotionally available or invested in your well-being. They are likely not interested in truly understanding or supporting you in the way a loving and respectful partner should. This kind of behavior can severely impact your emotional health, and it's important to recognize it as a red flag in any relationship. If you find yourself in a situation where your feelings are being belittled, it's crucial to address it. You deserve to be in a relationship where your emotions are respected and acknowledged. Setting boundaries around how you expect to be treated is important, and if the person you're with is unwilling or unable to change, it may be time to reevaluate the relationship. You are worthy of love, care, and emotional validation, and it's essential to prioritize your own emotional well-being over a relationship that continuously undermines your feelings.